Hello and happy Tolkien Reading Day for me and my friends, Fingon and Maedhros. Guess what story we're doing from the Silmarillion? If you don't know, here's a little brief history. These two were cousins and they were always besties until their very dramatic elf families started fighting over some legit reasons and some not so legit reasons. Maedhros did some pretty bad things, but then he got captured by the big bad, hung by his arm on a cliff face in the bad guy's territory. For years and years, no one could rescue him until along comes Fingon. I love this story because it does remind me of our world right now, when there's lots of disagreements over things that are very legit, some things that aren't so legit. But it just reminds me that there is a way to find peace and to become friends again if you're valiant enough, if you have enough love in your heart. Hope you enjoy. So I want to read our lovely story about Fingon rescuing Maedhros. Then Fingon the Valiant, son of Fingolfin, resolved to heal the feud that divided the Noldor before their enemies should be ready for war. For the earth trembled in the Northlands with the thunder of the forges of Morgoth underground. Long before, in the bliss of Valinor, before Melkor was unchained or lies came between them, Fingon had been close in friendship with Maedhros, and though he knew not yet that Maedhros had not forgotten him at the burning of the ships, the thought of their ancient friendship stung his heart. Therefore he dared a deed which is justly renowned among the feats of the princes of the Noldor. Alone and without the counsel of any, he set forth in search of Maedhros. And aided by the very darkness that Morgoth had made, he came unseen into the fastness of his foes. High upon the shoulders of Thangorodrim he climbed, and looked in despair upon the desolation of the land, but no passage or crevice could he find through which he might come within Morgoth's stronghold. Then, in defiance of the orcs who cowered still in the dark vaults beneath the earth, he took his harp and sang a song of Valinor that the Noldor made of old, before strife was born among the sons of Fenway, and his voice rang in the mournful hollows that had never heard before any aught save cries of fear and woe. Then Fingon found what he sought, for suddenly above him, far and faint, his song was taken up, and a voice answering called to him. Maedhros it was that sang amid his torment. But Fingon climbed to the foot of the precipice where his kinsman hung, and then could go no further, and he wept when he saw the cruel device of Morgoth. Maedhros, therefore, being in anguish without hope, begged Fingon to shoot him with his bow, and Fingon strung an arrow, and bent his bow. And seeing no better hope, he cried to Manwë, saying, O king to whom all birds are dear, speed now this feathered shaft, and recall some pity for the Noldor in their need. His prayer was answered swiftly, for Manwë, to whom all birds are dear, and to whom they bring news upon Tan-Ctil from Middle-earth, had sent forth the race of eagles, commanding them to dwell in the crags of the north, and to keep watch upon Morgoth, for Manwë still had pity for the exiled elves. And the eagles brought news of much that passed in those days to the sad ears of Manwë. Now even as Fingon bent his bow, there flew down from the high airs Thorondor, king of eagles, mightiest of all birds that have ever been, whose outstretched wings spanned 30 fathoms, and staying Fingon's hand he took him up and bore him to the face of the rock where Maedhros hung. But Fingon could not release the hell rod bound upon his wrist, nor sever it, nor draw it from the stone. Again, therefore, in his pain, Maedhros begged that he would slay him. But Fingon cut off his hand above the wrist, and Thorondor bore them back to Mithrim. There Maedhros in time was healed, for the fire of life was hot within him, and his strength was of the ancient world, such as that those possessed who were nurtures in Valinor. His body recovered from his torment and became healed, but the shadow of his pain was in his heart, and he lived to wield a sword with his left hand more deadly than his right had been. By this deed Fingon won great renown, and all the Noldor praised him, and the hatred between the houses of Fingolfin and Fëanor was assuaged. And that is the end of our story. But it's one of my favorites, and we have our two friends here, so happy Tolkien Reading Day from me and our lovely boys.